Bismillah. My dear brothers and sisters, we gather here today to reflect on a gift so profound, so transformative that it can heal wounds no medicine can touch: the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not merely an act, it is a state of being. It is a light that illuminates the darkest corners of our hearts and softens the heaviest burdens of our souls. In forgiveness lies the secret to spiritual liberation and true peace, both in this world and the next. Forgiveness is a divine attribute. When we think of forgiveness, we must first and foremost remember that it is one of the most cherished attributes of our Creator. Allah's mercy is boundless, and His forgiveness knows no limits. Every single one of us carries burdens, mistakes, shortcomings, transgressions, yet it is through Allah's mercy and forgiveness that we find the strength to stand again. Reflecting on this divine quality, we are reminded of how generously Allah forgives even when we repeatedly stumble. He invites us to return to Him no matter how far we think we've strayed. As believers, we are called to embody the characteristics that Allah loves, and forgiveness is among the highest of these. To forgive is not just to overlook someone's mistakes, but to erase bitterness from our hearts, to let go of grudges that weigh us down. It's an act of worship, a way to mirror Allah's mercy in our own lives. When we forgive, we are not merely following a moral obligation, we are participating in something deeply sacred. It's a practice that refines our character and brings us closer to the essence of true worship. Forgiveness is not a transaction. It is not about balancing the scales or extracting an apology. It's about understanding that we too are in perpetual need of Allah's forgiveness. How can we seek His mercy while denying mercy to those around us? When we forgive others, we open a door not just for them, but for ourselves to experience peace, to invite blessings, and to reflect the divine qualities that elevate our souls. The capacity to forgive is a gift, and the act itself transforms us into vessels of divine light. Forgiveness is a bridge. It is the bond that unites individuals, families, and communities. It repairs hearts, mends relationships, and removes barriers between us and the ones we care about. In embodying forgiveness, we choose to see beyond the offense, recognizing the shared humanity that connects us all. It is not weakness but strength. It is not submission but triumph. Forgiveness allows us to rise above the immediate pain of an injury and focus on the greater purpose of life, the pursuit of Allah's pleasure and the cultivation of meaningful, harmonious bonds with one another. Forgiveness heals the heart of the forgiver. When we speak of forgiveness, we often think about it as something we do for others, a gift we extend to someone who has wronged us. But, my dear brothers and sisters, what if I told you that forgiveness is just as much a gift we give to ourselves? The act of holding on to grudges, resentment, and pain weighs heavily on the human soul. It chains the heart, holding it captive to anger, bitterness, and sorrow. And yet, when we choose to forgive, it is as though we are unlocking those chains, freeing ourselves from the burdens we have carried for far too long. Forgiveness is an act of liberation. It allows us to reclaim the inner peace that grudges and hatred strip away. Imagine walking through life carrying a heavy stone in your chest. Every slight, every hurt, every wound adds weight to that stone. Over time, it becomes unbearable, leaving us fatigued, not just emotionally, but spiritually. To forgive is to put that stone down, to allow our hearts to breathe again, to make space for compassion, love, and healing. The truth is that forgiveness aligns us with the very essence of our fitrah, our natural disposition. When we harbor resentment, it disrupts our spiritual equilibrium. It clouds our judgment, dulls our compassion, and distances us from the purity of the soul that Allah gifted us. By forgiving, we allow our hearts to return to their natural state, soft, open, and full of life. Let us not misunderstand forgiveness as an easy or instantaneous act. It requires courage to confront the hurt, maturity to release it, and faith to trust that Allah will settle all accounts in His infinite wisdom. But when we take that step, when we choose to let go of anger and pain, the rewards are profound. The act of forgiving brings clarity to our minds, lightness to our spirits, and tranquility to our hearts. It is a journey toward healing, a process that restores the wholeness we yearn for in our innermost being. Forgiveness is not about denying or invalidating the pain we have endured. It is about refusing to let that pain define us. It is about choosing to prioritize our spiritual well-being over the fleeting satisfaction of harboring a grudge. It is about reclaiming control over our own hearts, ensuring that they remain a sanctuary of peace and resilience, rather than a battlefield of unresolved pain. Forgiveness is strength, not weakness. My dear brothers and sisters, in a world where retaliation is often celebrated and grudges are seen as a sign of strength, forgiveness defies this narrative. Forgiveness is not a passive act. It requires immense resolve, self-discipline, and an unshakable trust in Allah. It is not weakness to forgive. Rather, it is the highest form of strength that elevates the forgiver above pettiness, above anger, and above the fleeting satisfaction of vengeance. To forgive is to wrestle with the ego, the nafs, which constantly whispers, "How dare they? They must pay for what they've done." It takes strength to silence that voice, to let go of the need to settle the score. True forgiveness demands that we rise above our immediate emotions and see the greater picture. It calls us to rely on Allah as the ultimate judge and to release ourselves from the heavy burden of animosity. Forgiveness does not erase the harm done or invalidate the pain endured. Instead, it reflects a deeper understanding that justice does not always lie in revenge, and that forgiveness is not about denying harm, but about choosing to elevate oneself above it. It is a profound realization that by forgiving others, we refuse to allow their actions to dictate the state of our hearts. The act of forgiveness also brings an undeniable sense of empowerment. When we forgive, we are declaring to the world that our inner peace is not at the mercy of someone else's behavior. It is a conscious decision to protect our hearts from the corruption of hatred and to prioritize our connection with Allah over the temptations of anger and resentment. Think of the courage it takes to face someone who has wronged you not with bitterness but with grace. This courage is not born of weakness, but of strength. It is a strength rooted in the belief that Allah sees all, knows all, and that ultimately it is He who will hold everyone accountable. Forgiveness is an act of faith, a demonstration of unwavering confidence that true justice lies with Him, and that by forgiving we align ourselves with His divine plan. Forgiveness transforms relationships. My dear brothers and sisters, forgiveness is the lifeline of every meaningful relationship. From the bonds of family to the ties of friendship, no connection is immune to moments of conflict, misunderstanding, or hurt. But it is forgiveness that keeps these bonds from breaking under the weight of imperfection. When we choose to forgive, we do more than just repair what has been fractured. We fortify the relationship, making it stronger than it was before. Forgiveness is an act of love and humility. It requires that we lower our egos, recognizing that we too are fallible. None of us is free from mistakes, yet we often hold others to a higher standard than we hold ourselves. By forgiving, we let go of the illusion of perfection, allowing relationships to thrive in the light of understanding and compassion. In doing so, we not only heal wounds, but also create a space where trust and respect can flourish. Imagine the countless relationships that have fallen apart, not because of the initial wrong, but because of an unwillingness to forgive. Grudges and resentment act like barriers, cutting us off from the people we once held dear. But forgiveness has the power to tear down those walls. It allows us to see the person beyond their mistake and to remember the love, history, or kinship that brought us together in the first place. Forgiveness also sets a profound example for others, especially in families. When parents forgive one another, they teach their children the value of mercy and patience. When friends forgive, they model loyalty and understanding. Every act of forgiveness sends a ripple of healing through our communities, showing that no matter how far apart we may drift, there is always a way to come back together. But let us be clear, transforming relationships through forgiveness does not mean tolerating harm or overlooking injustice. It means addressing the wrong with wisdom and integrity, then choosing to release the bitterness that could poison the relationship. It means prioritizing love over pride, harmony over discord, and the hope of a better future over the pain of the past. Is there a specific angle you'd like me to expand upon further? Let me know how I can refine this for you. Forgiveness opens the doors to Allah's mercy. My dear brothers and sisters, how can we ever hope to stand before Allah on the Day of Judgment without seeking His forgiveness? Every single one of us carries the weight of our own shortcomings, yet Allah, in His infinite mercy, promises that His doors of forgiveness are always open. But have we ever reflected on how our forgiveness of others paves the way for us to receive Allah's mercy? When we let go of the wrongs others have committed against us, we are essentially saying to Allah, Ya Rab, I release this from my heart, trusting in your divine justice. It is as though we are appealing to His mercy by showing mercy ourselves. Forgiving others is not about excusing their actions, but about embodying the divine quality of Rahmah, compassion, and in doing so, aligning our hearts with the attributes Allah loves most. The beauty of forgiveness lies in its reciprocal nature. When we forgive, we receive not just peace and relief in this world, but a greater share of Allah's mercy in the hereafter. Imagine standing before Allah, desperate for His forgiveness for the moments of heedlessness, the sins we committed knowingly and unknowingly. How much more hope would we have if we had lived lives filled with forgiveness toward His creation? Allah tests us with the imperfections of others. He places us in situations where our hearts are hurt, not to break us, but to refine us. And every time we choose forgiveness over vengeance, we climb a little higher in the sight of Allah. We demonstrate that our faith is not just in His justice but in His mercy as well. Forgiveness in essence becomes a way to cleanse our own souls and to earn Allah's pleasure.